You think you're happy, but your face is already telling the truth. I've seen it in the lab 1,000 times, a tiny, one-sided mouth pull that lasts only a fraction of a second. That's the sign. Most people ignore this until the papers are served. 99% miss the last part. And if you do, you're essentially building your life on a foundation of invisible sand. If you skip this, you risk a decade of quiet resentment. Silent toxicity. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the tension so thick you could almost see it? In our lab at the Science of People, we call this thin slicing. Within the first 7 seconds of watching a couple interact, we can often predict the trajectory of their entire relationship for the next 10 years. It's not about the big blowout fights you see in movies. It's about the micro expressions that flicker across the face when one partner is talking and the other is supposedly listening. When we talk about the number one sign of divorce, we are talking about a long-term failure in these tiny, high-stakes social signals. Most people think they are hiding their unhappiness, but their bodies are leaking the truth every single day. One of the most dangerous signals we look for is the one-sided mouth pull, the micro-expression of contempt. In the Science of People, contempt is the single greatest predictor of relationship failure. It's a signal of superiority. It says, "I am better than you," or "Your opinion doesn't matter." When this becomes the baseline of your communication, the foundation of the connection begins to rot. You aren't just having a disagreement, you are socially deleting your partner. This is why many people find themselves blindsided 10 years down the line, because they ignored the social dust that had been accumulating for a decade. We've analyzed thousands of hours of footage of couples in conflict, and the ones who make it aren't the ones who never fight. They are the ones who know how to use micro repairs. A micro repair is a tiny gesture, a shared look, a soft touch on the arm, or a quick joke that de-escalates the tension before it hits a breaking point. Most people ignore these opportunities because their ego is too loud. They want to win the argument. But in a lifelong partnership, if one person wins, the relationship loses. To avoid the 10-year trap, you have to master the art of the repair. You have to be more interested in rapport than in being right. When a connection ends, many people feel like they've failed a test. But if you look at the behavioral data, you realize that a split is often just the final result of cognitive dissonance. You are acting like a partner, but your internal signals are broadcasting stranger. This creates a massive amount of internal friction. You have to do the internal work to become a resonant vessel before you can successfully anchor yourself to someone else for the long haul. If you are still broadcasting low-worth signals, you will eventually attract or create a low-value environment. Status imbalance. In every relationship, there is an invisible status map. Most people ignore this because it feels unromantic, but in the Science of People, power dynamics are everything. A partnership often breaks when the status balance becomes skewed. If one partner feels socially deleted or minimized, they will eventually look for an exit, even if it takes a decade to find the courage. This isn't about who makes more money, it's about social capital. It's about who feels heard, who feels valued, and who occupies the most presence in the room. When the status game becomes zero-sum, you are in the danger zone. We've studied high-status, high-warmth leaders, and the same principles apply to long-term connections. The most successful partners are those who know how to lift their partner's status. They use high-warmth cues like the eyebrow flash of recognition or active constructive responding when their partner shares good news. If you kill the joy when your partner succeeds, you are playing a low-status game of envy. This creates limbic friction. Your partner's brain registers you as a threat rather than a secure base. This is a primary driver of the slow drift toward distance. Think about your frontal heart fold. When you are in a disagreement, do you angle your body away? Do you cross your arms? These are blocking cues. They signal that you are guarded and closed. In a healthy relationship, even during a fight, partners maintain a level of orientation toward each other. They are signaling, "I disagree with your words, but I am still present for your person." When you lose that orientation, you lose the connection. You become options to each other rather than necessities. And in the modern world, options are easily replaced. To avoid the 10-year fallout, you must practice status fluidity. This means being comfortable enough in your own skin to lower your status when your partner needs to shine. It's about confident humility. If you are always trying to be the smartest or strongest person in the room, you are creating a fortress that your partner can't enter. A luxury relationship is one where both people feel like the main character. By mastering your social IQ, you can create an environment where status is shared rather than contested. This is the foundation of a legacy connection. Vulnerability loops. The third chapter of this people science is the vulnerability loop. In behavioral science, a vulnerability loop is a two-step process. You share a micro-vulnerability, and your partner signals acceptance. Most people stumble here because they think strength requires perfection. They try to be fortresses of steel. But a fortress is cold and inaccessible. A whole person is a garden with a wall. You have boundaries, you have discipline, but you also have texture. You have life inside. Vulnerability isn't about oversharing, it's about texture. Perfect people are uncanny and untrustworthy. If you never show a flaw, your partner's brain stays in defense mode. They think, what are they hiding? To pass the 10-year mark, you must show confident vulnerability. You share a small mistake with a steady voice and a clear gaze, and you watch for the reaction. This is the invitation for your partner to do the same. This shared humanity is the glue of connection. If you share a fear and your partner responds with contempt or apathy, the loop stays open. An open vulnerability loop is like a neural wound. In our lab, we look for micro expressions of relief. This is the moment when someone feels they can finally drop the mask. This only happens when you provide psychological safety. You have to be an anchor, not a sail. If you are reactive, if you get defensive or anxious at the first sign of conflict, you are signaling that you aren't a safe place for emotions. But if you stay grounded and warm, even when things get difficult, you are showing high emotional intelligence. You are showing that you can hold the weight of truth without breaking. The halal of the heart is the purity of connection. You aren't looking to exploit vulnerability, you are looking to protect it. When a partner shares a secret or a fear, they are entrusting you with a biological secret, that you have power over their nervous system. A high-value partner uses this power with compassion. They don't one-up or use it to manipulate. They use it to deepen the safety. This is the service of leadership in a relationship. You are leading the connection toward a state of mutual growth. Vocal resonance. The fourth hidden truth is that vocal warmth is the soundtrack of a lasting bond. In our research, we've analyzed thousands of hours of audio, and we found that people decide on someone's trustworthiness within milliseconds of hearing their voice. Most people use a performative voice. They either try to sound more alpha or they use upspeak, where every sentence sounds like a question. Both of these are low-status signals. They leak insecurity. To pass the 10-year gate, you must use your resonant core. Vocal resonance comes from the diaphragm, not the throat. It is the voice of internal sovereignty. When you speak from your core, your voice has a low-frequency vibration that bypasses the logical brain and speaks directly to the limbic system. It tells the listener, I am a person of my word, I am stable, I am here. This is what we call acoustic status. It's not about being loud, it's about being solid. When your voice is steady, your partner's nervous system registers it as a safety signal. It allows them to lean into the conversation. We also look at auditory mirroring. High rapport couples naturally match each other's vocal tempo and pitch over time. This is neural coupling. It's the state where your brains start to fire in the same patterns. By matching each other's frequency, you are signaling, I hear you, I see you, and we are on the same wavelength. This is the foundation of cognitive synchrony. If your voices are constantly clashing or interrupting, you are creating a sonic friction that will eventually wear down the heart. The most powerful tool in your vocal arsenal is the power of the pause. Most people are terrified of silence, so they fill it with filler words like, or, you know. This signals social anxiety. But a person of character knows that the most important things are said in the gaps. When you pause after your partner speaks, you are signaling that their words have weight. You are processing their soul. This is a supreme respect cue. It tells them that you aren't just running a script, you are engaging with their essence. Frontal alignment. The fifth signal is the frontal heart fold. In the science of people, the ventral side, the front of our bodies, is our most vulnerable area. It's where all our vital organs are. When we are uncomfortable or defensive, we angle off. We turn our shoulders away, we cross our arms, or we put an object between us and our partner. This is a protective barrier. However, when a couple is truly in sync, they give each other total frontal alignment. Their shoulders, their chest, and their hips are all parallel. This is the ultimate signal of total engagement. You are exposing your most vulnerable self to the other person. In the lab, we've seen that heart-to-heart contact creates a neural coupling effect. Your heart rates actually begin to synchronize. By placing your chest firmly toward theirs, you are signaling that they are your only priority in this moment. If you give them the shoulder block while they are trying to connect, you are telling them they aren't your priority. This micro-rejection is the social dust that leads to divorce. We also have to look at the A-frame versus the I-frame. An A-frame orientation is when your shoulders are close, but your feet are pointed away toward the door. This is the hallmark of social anxiety or relationship exit. It signals that you are looking for a way out. But an I-frame, where your bodies are aligned like two parallel pillars, is a high-status connection signal. It shows that you aren't afraid of the heat of the connection. You are comfortable in the intimate zone, which is less than 18 inches away. Most couples who fail the 10-year test have been socially ghosting each other for years. They live in the same house, but they angle off in every room. They look at their phones instead of each other's eyes. But the master of people does the opposite. They orient with intention. They use their body to create a social fortress around the interaction. When you orient yourself fully toward your partner, you are providing them with hyper-focus. This is a luxury experience. In a world of distraction, giving undivided orientation is iconic. Predictable reliability. The 6th chapter is the blueprint of trust. In our lab, we define trust as predictable reliability. It's the knowledge that your partner will send the same safety cues tomorrow that they sent today. Divorce experts often see a breakdown in predictability long before the end. It's these small betrayals, the forgotten promises, the vocal thinness when asked a question, or the ghosting of a text message. These are inconsistency cues. They tell the brain that the environment is no longer safe. When the brain feels unsafe, it moves into survival mode. You stop looking for connection and start looking for protection. This is when vulnerability loops stop closing. If you share a fear and your partner responds with contempt or apathy, the loop stays open. An open vulnerability loop is like a neural wound. If you have too many of these, the attachment system simply shuts down to prevent further pain. This is the point of no return that leads to the final split. Integrity is simply when your internal truth matches your external cues. If you say, "I love you," but your body language is cold, you are lying to your partner's nervous system. They might not be able to explain it, but they will feel the dissonance. To build a bond that lasts 10, 20, or 50 years, you must be congruent. Your word must be your bond. This predictable excellence is the most luxurious trait a partner can have. It provides the quiet that the soul needs to thrive. I encourage you to practice vigilant attunement. This means being a master of the details. Notice when your partner's vocal pitch changes. Notice the micro expressions of sadness or fatigue. When you witness these tiny signals and respond with warmth, you are performing a micro repair on the relationship. You are sealing the gates against the social dust of the world. This level of presence is rare, and because it is rare, it is irresistible. It's the reason why some couples seem unstoppable. Cognitive synchrony. The 7th chapter is cognitive mapping. Most people think connection is about sharing activities, but for a high-value person, connection is about shared reality. It's about knowing that you have a map of your partner's internal landscape. In our lab, we call this big talk. Most people stay in the small talk trap. They talk about the weather or the news. This is social dust. It clogs the gears of connection. To pass the 10-year test, you must move from the what to the why. Cognitive mapping requires social curiosity. You have to be obsessed with the why behind people's actions. Instead of asking, "How was your day?" you ask, "What was the most meaningful part of your day?" Or, "What is a value you've been thinking about lately?" These are high-value questions. They signal that you are interested in the essence of the person, not just their data. You are thin slicing their soul. This hyper-focus makes people feel like they are the only person in the universe. We've studied linguistic style matching in high rapport interactions. Our research shows that people who are in sync use function words, like pronouns and conjunctions, in very similar ways. This is a subconscious bridge. It makes the conversation feel effortless. To achieve this, you have to be fully present. You can't be planning your next sentence while the other person is talking. You have to be witnessing them. When you are present, your brain naturally mirrors their patterns. Another key to depth is the curiosity gap. This is the space between what someone knows and what they want to know. A luxury partner knows how to keep the curiosity gap open. They don't reveal their entire life story in one sitting. They share layers. They are like a multi-dimensional puzzle. Every time someone thinks they have figured you out, you reveal a new interest or a new depth of thought. This keeps them mentally invested in you for the long haul. You never become boring because you are a lifelong learner. Social leadership. The 8th chapter is social integrity. In behavioral science, we call this situational empathy. Most people are selective connectors. They are warm with people they perceive as high status, but they become socially invisible to those they deem low status, like the waiter or the janitor. This is the ultimate test of moral alignment. If your kindness is transactional, it isn't kindness. It's manipulation. And a luxury human is never a manipulator. Your partner is watching how you treat the world. When a person of substance watches you interact with others, they are performing a social audit. They are looking at how you treat the people who can do absolutely nothing for you. If you are warm with your partner but contemptuous toward the staff, you are signaling a structural crack in your character. You are showing that your politeness is a mask, not a value. To pass the test, you must lead with universal respect. You treat every human being as a sacred vessel. This is the halal of social interaction. Social leadership is about being a connector. A high-status person makes everyone in the room feel seen and valued. In our lab, we call this the halo effect. When you use high-warmth cues, like a genuine smile or steady eye contact with everyone, you are creating a positive social field. You are the sun of that environment. People are naturally drawn to the light of someone who can lead a room with grace rather than force. Your partner feels proud to be in your orbit. Leadership is also about status regulation. A true leader knows how to lower their own status to make others feel comfortable. This is confident humility. If you are always trying to prove you are the smartest or strongest, you are signaling internal fragility. But if you can laugh at yourself and lift others up, you are signaling supreme status. You are so full of your own value that you don't need to hoard the social rewards. You share them. This generosity of spirit is what keeps a partner attracted for decades. The recovery. The 9th chapter is the science of the repair. I mentioned earlier that the couples who last aren't the ones who never fight, but the ones who repair. In the lab, we look at the recovery time. How long does it take for you to go from conflict back to connection? If it takes days of silence, you are in trouble. If it takes minutes of micro repairs, you are a master. The ability to pivot from anger to empathy is the most important skill in relationship longevity. It requires high EQ. A micro repair can be as simple as an audible exhale. In the middle of a tense moment, taking a deep breath and letting it out slowly signals safety to the other person's nervous system. It invites them to do the same. It breaks the limbic spike. Or it can be a micro touch, placing a hand on their hand while saying, "I'm frustrated, but I'm still here." This synchronized presence is what prevents the 10-year sign from becoming your reality. You are wiring your relationship for resilience. We also have to talk about the power of the apology. A high-status apology is not a submission. It is an act of integrity. It says, "I value our connection more than my ego." Most people give fake apologies. "I'm sorry you feel that way." This is a dismissal cue. A real apology acknowledges the action and the impact. "I was sharp with you and I can see that hurt you. I'm sorry." This transparency of character closes the vulnerability loop and restores the secure base.